Good morning. If you have decided to study to become a professional hypnotherapist, keep watching our training videos on hypnosis. Hypnosis is a powerful technique with which you can help and improve the quality of life of a large number of your future patients. Remember, read the description of this video where you can find a link to free training classes on clinical hypnosis, and you can download several ebooks also free. Let's start with types of instant hypnosis. Let's see the different types. Breaking the cycle. Repetition of a safe sequence. Psychoconflictive techniques. Suggestion tests. Induction with hypnotic key. Rules for induction and hypnotic key. Types of instant hypnosis. There are several and different types of quick or instantaneous hypnosis. Let's see some examples. But the important thing is to understand what they are based on, in order to be able to build our own system of rapid induction. Cycle breaking. It is based on breaking a learned structure known by the subject to be hypnotized. In rapid and instantaneous hypnosis, it is important to be confident when facing this type of induction. Once induced, we must then bombard the subject with multiple suggestions of relaxation, heaviness, depth, so that he or she does not have time to analyze what is happening to him or her and what we are going to do him or her. It will be breaking an unexpected cycle. For example, we shake hands with the subject. He expects the normal, social cycle of the handshake, greeting. However, instead of doing this cycle, we are going to break it. At the moment we shake hands with the subject, at the same time we put the other hand on the eyes and close them, and say the word dream. With this, we break the expected cycle of the handshake. For example, he expected the known handshake protocol. He expected the known protocol of the handshake greeting. It is very important to follow with induction of sleep, depth, relaxation, in a continuous and insistent way. Bombardment immediately after closing his eyes and say the word dream. This exercise is done while we are both standing, hypnotist and hypnotized. If we have no one behind us to hold him in his fall, when we give him our hand, we say dream, and we hold him tightly, attracting him and pushing him toward us, followed by the bombing. Another exercise of rupture of cycle would be the subject seated in a chair and with the eyes closed. We place ourselves in front of him, to a side. We tell him to rest his hands on the palm of our hand, to leave his hands totally supported on the palm of our hands, and with his arm fallen without force, then we tell him to open his eyes and look at his hand resting on ours. Then we withdraw our hands, and before his hand falls, we put our other hand on his forehead, closing his eyes, and at the same time we say the word dream, followed by the bombing technique. He was expecting to see his hand fall. We have broken the expected cycle of the hand falling by immediately saying the word dream, followed by the bombing. In this type of exercise, synchronicity is very important. That is, the correct timing of saying the word dream, followed by the act of closing the patient's eyes to immediately after bombard. We must know how to find the right and ideal moment for this. The word sleep is more imperative. The word sleep is more neutral, but it is just as effective as the word sleep. By gently and subtly placing our hand on him, we close his eyes. The secret of rapid or instant hypnosis is to break a known unexpected cycle. That is to say, to break an automatism. When we use the technique of bombardment, at the same time, when we apply it, we must take one arm and say loose, relaxed, fallen. Then the other arm loose, relaxed, fallen. With the legs, the same thing. All this in a fast way, alternating arms and legs, so as not to give him or her time to think about what is happening to him or her and what we are doing to him or her. Repetition of a safe sequence. It is based on the premise that the consciousness has the capacity to study and catalogue a repeated action several times as dangerous or not dangerous. Then we train the subject to perform an action, and once he has discarded any kind of danger, we relax him, and we break this previously learned cycle, and he enters hypnosis. The difference with the handshake greeting exercise is that this one is just learned, and the other one is socially known and learned. Here we teach a cycle, and then we break it. We put the subject standing, feet together in the moment, in which we tell him to put his feet together. We take him by the forearm, and we insist in that he puts his feet together. We continue insisting and giving him small pushes in his feet, with our feet, in an instant way, so that he sees that we command. That is to say, close your eyes, raise your right arm. Now your left arm. Lower your right arm. Now your left arm. Open your eyes and stare at a point on the wall, for example, a clock. Then close your eyes and repeat the cycle several times. During the process of the cycle, we should not let him to do it on his own. For example, he will raise or lower his arms on our command. We must control at all times the process of the cycle, and once he has learned it, we tell him with numbers. That is, he closes his eyes, and instead of telling him to raise his right arm, we say 1. Instead of telling him to raise his left arm, we say 2. Instead of telling him to lower his right arm, we say 3. Instead of telling him to lower his left arm, we say 4. Open his eyes and look at. Once he has it automated, we break the cycle with the word dream. We say dream energetically, at the same time as we subtly close his eyes with our hands, and then we bombard him. For example, when it is time to tell him, open his eyes and look at the clock, open, dream, we close his eyes. As he was opening them, that is to say, we practically do not let him open them. Practically, we do not let him open them, but we catch him in the process of opening them. Then, bombardment. We must have all these movements very synchronized at the right moment, with subtlety and speed. The inductive system in fast and instant hypnosis is based on the tendency of the human consciousness to mechanize and automate the acts. Once it believes it knows a certain sequence of events. The human consciousness saves resources and mechanisms. They act once it has determined that they are safe and have a predictable result. In short, once a sequence of acts has been established, which are repeated, the subject consciousness lowers its levels of attention to the process and begins to repeat them, somewhat mechanically. In these moments, a sudden change of script in the sequence causes a surprising state in the person, which is resolved with a few moments of dissociation, which are used to impart an order, which leads to a rapid entry into trance. This method of induction can be carried out with the subject standing up or sitting down, and of course it does not matter what sequence of acts is proposed to the subject, as long as it is not excessively long and the order of the acts is repeated. It can be carried out standing up or sitting down. If it is used standing up and the subject is placed with his feet together, we have the advantage of postural instability, which can help when the dissociative moment occurs, but it is not an indispensable condition for the correct functioning of the technique. A practical example of application of the safe sequence system in quick and instantaneous hypnosis could be the following. With the subject comfortably seated, we ask him or her to follow our indications, which we are going to give him or her with calmness, but without leaving excessively long temporary spaces between one indication and another. You are sitting comfortably. Now, I'm going to ask you to do some small and simple exercises. Close your eyes. Start of the sequence. Raise your right arm and keep it raised. Open your eyes and stare at the sun. Open your eyes and stare straight ahead. Lower your right arm while looking straight ahead. Now close your eyes. End of sequence. Now, with your eyes closed, repetition of the sequence, raise your right arm again and keep it raised. Open your eyes again and stare straight ahead. Lower your right arm once more and now close your eyes again. Repeat the sequence again. The subject is encouraged to repeat the sequence 3 or 4 times, so that his conscious mind is clear that after closing his eyes, he should raise his right arm and after that open them again to stare straight ahead, and then lower his arm once more, after which he will close his eyes again. Once we have established the rules of the game, it is time to break them. After a few repetitions, the subject mechanizes his actions, given that he knows which act follows the one he is performing, and this makes his levels of conscious attention drop. It is time to proceed to induction. And the 4th or 5th repetition, in the weakest moments of the sequence, in this case the moments of reopening the eyes, we proceed as follows. Now open your eyes again. Dream. Dream deep. The order to sleep will be accompanied by a gesture, closing the eyelids at the same time as we tilt the head forward and almost at the same time taking the subject by the raised arm. We will let him fall heavily. The subject's consciousness has been surprised by an order not expected, which breaks the sequence of events, which produces a brief moment of dissociation, which we take advantage of to induce the trance. After this, we will continue to impart rapid suggestions of depth and relaxation bombardment, thus concluding the hypnotic induction, that is, the subject is already in a state of hypnosis. We must clearly mark each step of the sequence. In this case, we have 5 acts within the sequence to be repeated. Close the eyes. Raise your arm. Open your eyes and stare straight ahead. Down your arm. Close your eyes so that the subject's consciousness identifies them as independent, sequential actions. Under no circumstances will we allow the subject to take the time and control of the process. That is to say, whenever he changes action, it is because we ask him to do so, never because he moves forward or delays in the execution. This type of induction, like almost all techniques, quick and instantaneous in hypnosis, requires mastery in its execution, good synchrony and security on the part of the operator when ordering the final suggestion of dream. Psychoconflictive techniques, also called confusion or disorientation. The execution of this group of techniques requires strength, authority, real skill, and know-how on the part of the professional. Basically, it is based on a massive bombardment of the conscious. It is very effective with resistant subjects. Sometimes we find subjects with a high analytical capacity. They try to rationalize step by step all the suggestions offered to them. This intellectual work prevents, in most cases, the creation of the base of conscious inhibition necessary to reach the hypnotic state. It is clear that the person cannot stop critically analyzing everything that happens, so the solution lies in overcoming their capacity for logical analysis. Psychoconflictive techniques achieve this overflow through the use of rapid, contradictory actions and suggestions, which finally puts an end to any attempt to rationalize the process on the part of the subject, given the speed and the absence of logical connections between them. Literally, the conscious subject, almost unable to materially analyze the previous suggestion, is forced to pay attention to the next one. Too many things to think about at the same time. The end result is a sense of relief at being able to stop concentrating and his entering trance almost unconsciously. The psychoconflictive technique consists of 2 important parts. On the part of the subject, counting down from 3 to 3, alternating open and closed eyes from 100 to 0. In the meantime, we ask the subject to do a series of exercises with arms and legs. Count from 100 to 1, descending in threes, alternating eyes open with eyes closed, 100 eyes open, 97 eyes closed, 94 eyes open, 91 eyes closed, 88 eyes open. In the meantime, we'll tell you to do some very easy exercises. Raise the right arm and keep it raised. Then the other arm. Now lower the right arm. Now raise the right leg and keep it raised. Then the left leg. Now lower the right leg. Each time we give the instruction to raise or lower a limb, we do it while we help him with the other arm. Every time we instruct him to raise or lower a limb, we do it while helping him with our hands to raise or lower the leg or arm, to confuse him and make him even more dizzy. Every time we say arm, we lower or raise a leg, and every time we say legs, we raise or lower an arm. The aim is to dizzy and confuse the subject as much as possible, while he continues with the count. When we consider that he is sufficiently dizzy, we say the word dream, while we close his eyes very subtly with our hands to immediately move to the bombardment. If we observe the rapid succession of orders we'll observe that many of them are launched to be revoked almost immediately, annulling any tests of reality to which the subject wants to submit. Due to the subject's own analytical character, he is forced, however, to do so. We also use inversions, which the subject initially attributes to our error. For example, we refer to his arm when we raise or lower his leg, and vice versa. All this generates more confusion and annuls his capacity to rationalize the process. We can deepen the trance even more by using a deepen exercise. We take his right arm and hold it up while we say, "Your right arm is rigid, very rigid, more and more rigid as the trunk of a tree." Now I count from 1 to 3, and at each number I say, "Your right arm will be even more rigid," and when I say 1, it will be totally relaxed, so relaxed that your arm will fall, as if it were a rug, and you will fall into a very deep state of hypnosis. Multiple disorientation methods. It is a psychoconflictive technique. The person is asked to stand upright, with feet together and eyes closed. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Do not exhale. Hold it for as long as you can. Now exhale and catch your breath again. Hold it again. Now raise your left arm. Clench your fist and hold it. Keep it like this. Now raise your right arm. Let it loose. Loose but raised. Your left arm is stiff and your right arm is slack. Now count from 100 to 1 in threes and out loud. 100, 97, 94. Keep counting. If you make a mistake, start counting again from the number 96. Your left arm is slack and slack. Your right arm is stiff and tense. Open and close your eyes. Now, with every number you count, your legs are stiff. Your body sways to one side and to the other. Your clenched hand begins to welt. Keep counting. Now more quickly. Your hand is welding. Now it is loose and slack again. Your right arm is heavy and your left arm is heavy. Keep breathing intensely. Close your eyes. Think that you are falling asleep. Now wake up and close them again while counting to count. When you finish the count, start again. This time starting from the number 137. Now your right arm is heavy and falls. Your left arm feels light and rises. Imagine you are sleeping. Close your eyes. Now wake up again. Close your eyes and squeeze your right arm. Continue counting. Close your eyes again. Each time you do this, you go into a deep sleep. You find it very difficult to continue counting. You find it very difficult to continue counting. You find it very difficult to keep continuing. Your arms are heavy and you feel more and more tired. Now open your eyes. Keep counting. Close your eyes. Keep counting. Dream. While very subtly closing his eyes with our hand, we immediately move on to the bombardment. Suggestion tests. With the typical and classical suggestion tests, rapid hypnosis can also be achieved. These tests are used to measure the degree of suggestibility of the subject to be hypnotized. The subject sits on a chair in front of us, and we tell him to extend his arm with the palms open inwards, telling him that his hands repel each other as if they were two magnets. That is to say, as if an energy impeded their union. We induce him that the palms of his hands cannot come together. There is an invisible force or energy that prevents the two hands from coming together. After we are sure that he is sufficiently induced, we quickly bring his palm together and at the same time close his eyes with our hands and say the word dream, thus breaking the idea that the hands cannot be joined, and then bombardment. In the bombardment, we must move his arms, inducing him that they are relaxed. Loose, we lift his arms and legs, releasing them suddenly so that they fall, plump, under their own weight, dead, without strength, at the same time that we induce relaxation, depth. If, when we release the limbs, they do not fall relaxed, it means that the subject has not entered completely in trance. In this case, we will insist on the bombardment. In the voice, we must be coherent with what we say. If we induce rigidity, we must say it with a firm voice. If, on the other hand, we induce relaxation, the voice should be concordant with this suggestion, for example, with a soft tone of voice. Induction with a hypnotic key. Simply, once induced with a quick hypnosis exercise, we introduce a key to enter again in hypnosis in an immediate way. That is to say, as soon as we say the key, the subject automatically enters hypnosis. The hypnotic key can be a word, a gesture. Rules for introducing a hypnotic key. That it is possible, word, gesture, movement, that is possible to carry it out. It must have time parameters. Define clearly what is expected when pronouncing the hypnotic key. Repetition, we must repeat the key to the subject at least 3 times. The hypnotic key can be doubled. Example, from now on, every time I count from 1 to 3 and say the words X, you will instantly enter hypnosis. In this case, the hypnotic key is the union of the count from 1 to 3 plus the words X. Correct synchronization in closing the subject's eyes. In the correct synchronization, closing the subject's eyes will proceed as follows. If we do it with the right hand, we close both eyes of the subjects at the same time. That is to say, the subject's left eye with the back of our little finger and the right eye with the right part of the palm of our hand. The part that is situated next to the wrist, also known as the lunar mount. In the figure, you can see perfectly the areas of our hand that we use to cover the subject's eyes. Shaded parts of the image. If you are interested in learning more about clinical hypnosis, please watch our next video, Rapid Hypnosis, Counting Technique and Phases in Rapid Hypnosis. Remember, read the description of this video where you can find a link to free training classes on clinical hypnosis, and you can also download several ebooks. If you have any questions, add them in the comments area. On this topic and many others we will talk about in the channel and in the video that we will publish. So if you're interested, do not miss our next videos. Thank you very much.